Good evening, everyone. We are the Group 2 and we are assigned to report about media literacy in the new normal way. First, what is media literacy? Media literacy are powerful forces in the lives of youth because it connects us with different scenarios in the world and informs us many things like news, history, entertainment, and more. Media helps us in bringing the true facts and information of the world. It can also help us to rely on fact rather than a fantasy. Next definition in the media literacy. It is an expanded conceptualization of literacy that includes the ability to access and analyze media messages as well as create, reflect, and take action using the power of information and communication to make a difference in the world. So media literacy encompasses the practices that allow people to access, critically evaluate, and create or manipulate media. It is also produce a communication. Media literacy also the ability to apply critical thinking skills to the messages, signs, and symbols transmitted through mass media. So through media literacy, it provides the backbone to understanding media and the role of media in our society. Next is, what is media education? So media education, it is the process through which individuals become media literate, able to critically understand the nature, techniques, and impacts of media messages and productions. Media education also acknowledges and builds on the positive, creative, and pleasurable dimensions of popular culture. It incorporates production of media text and critical thinking about media to help us navigate through an increasingly complex media landscapes. So media education can also involve considering a media work as a text or an artifact. So when we say work as a text, it means that if focusing on its content and ways in which its authors direct our attention and communicate meaning. And when we say media education as artifact, it means thinking about its context. Media education is not also only about learning the right answers, but it also about consuming. So next, why teach media literacy? So here are the 10 reasons why we need to teach media literacy. First is media literacy encourages young people to question, evaluate, understand, and appreciate their multimedia culture. Through media literacy, it teaches people to become active and understand that multimedia culture is a new type of the culture of transformation. Second, media education brings the world into the classroom, giving immediacy and relevance to traditional subjects such as history, English, health, civics, and the creative arts. Media education serves as a perfect bridge for subject integration and interdisciplinary studies. Third is media education embodies and furthers current pedagogy, which emphasizes student-centered learning, the recognition of multiple intelligences, and the analysis and management rather than just the simple storing of information. So, pinaagi sa media education, it gives a lesson to the students, especially in getting some information. It also helps them to become knowledgeable enough on how to analyze and manage different information. So fourth is media education is grounded in the sound pedagogical approach of starting learning where kids are at. The media, music, comics, television, video games, and internet, and even ads are part of life that all kids enjoy. So students are surrounded by technologies And mauna siya ang ilang gigamit as a means in enjoying their lives. Next, media education encourages young people to use multimedia tools creatively, a strategy that contributes to understanding by doing, and prepares them for a workforce that increasingly demands the use of sophisticated forms of communication. So students have different ways on how to learn and to discover more things because of being high-tech nowadays. Number 6. In a society concerned about growing youth apathy to the political process, media education engages young people in real-life issues. This means that as we can observe, Jude, na ay mga youth or tumulubo nga na ay apathy to the political process. Commonly, mauni sila ang naka-feel like the political system does not work for them. So, by the power of media education, mas makarealize sila ug unsa ka importante ang politics kay mas ma-engage man sila sa real-world issues and maka-feel sila nga naa sila crucial part or responsibility sa aning politics. 7. In a diverse and pluralistic society, the study of media helps youth understand how media portrayals can influence how we view different groups in society. It deepens young people's understanding of diversity, identity, and difference. Number 8. Media literacy helps young people's personal growth and social development by exploring the connections between popular culture, music, fashion, television, programming, movies, and advertising, and their attitudes, lifestyles, choices, and self-image. It means that media literacy is a great factor in terms of personal growth and social development since diri kay makakuan silang power to influence young to do that or to do this, or maka-influence to connect with other people. Number 10. Media literacy helps children critique media representation, teaching them to distinguish between reality and fantasy as they compare media violence and real life violence, media heroes and real life heroes, and media role models and real life roles and expectations. So as we observe nowadays, nga ang youth kay napalibutan og technology and sila ang mas maka-catch up dayon sa mga news trends and sa mga different social media platform. So pinaagi sa media, it helps the young youth to critique media presentation and teaching them to distinguish those information na nakuha nila if it is true or not. Last, with most Canadian students turning first to the internet for research, media education is an essential component of education, information communications technology education, assisting young people in developing critical thinking skills and strategies for optimizing searches, evaluating and authenticating information, and examining issues for plagiarism and copyright.
Good evening, everyone. To continue our discussion, the next in line are the key concepts for media literacy and the tips for integrating media literacy in the classroom. Hello and welcome to my discussion. There are 5 key concepts of media literacy. First, media are constructions. Second, audiences negotiate meaning. Third, media have commercial implications. Fourth, media have social and political implications. Fifth, each medium has a unique aesthetic form. Now let's try to know its brief explanation one by one. So first is media are constructions. The phrase that we need to remember here is that media is created by the creator's point of view. The second is audiences negotiate meaning. We all know that media is a public platform. Audiences audiences can freely express their different thoughts about something, and it's not new for us because that's how media function. The third one is media have commercial implications. Media intertwined with powerful networks, which lead different businesses to grow, and then as the years passes by, those businesses reach success. And then the fourth one, media have social and political implication. Like I've said, media is a public platform, though sometimes it radiates toxicity or negativities, but we cannot change the fact it gives great influence in forming political and especially in social change, because media more talks about or more expresses communication in socializing. And then the fifth key concept is each medium has a unique aesthetic form. So media has a unique medium. Like there is a mass media where we can find those, for example, in television, in video broadcasting, and etc. And then there is also in social media where we can scroll different information in Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so many more. And then mm, that is why media has its unique aesthetic form. Now let's move on to the tips for integrating media and literacy in the classroom. The first one is exploit teachable moments. When students have free time, take an opportunity to listen to what they're talking about. So dapat paminawon jud nato ilahang mga gipang tabi. Yes. The second one, give students a chance to create media, not just analyze it. A key part of it, there's no substitute for hands-on experience to help kids understand how things like editing, music, or influence the way a movie or TV show affects us emotionally. Next, start and end with the key concepts. In media education and the media world can feel overwhelming when you start to analyze it. Next, recognize that kids and adults enjoy media. Teach kids that critiquing is not necessarily the same thing as criticizing, and that we cannot identify and talk about problematic issues in the media without losing our enjoyment of them. Next, teach about media, not just with media. It's not enough to use media in your classroom unless students are learning about media as well. Anytime you are using media in the classroom, look for media education opportunity. For instance, if you're showing the movie version of a play or book, have students analyze the differences between the two using the key concepts. Next, make media education about asking questions, not learning answers. Even though you may feel strongly about an issue or a media product, give your students room to come to their own conclusion. Next one, fight the perception that it doesn't matter. A condition known as implicit or unconscious bias and the presence or absence of different groups in media has been shown to affect how people feel about those groups. Next, assess and evaluate media literacy work. Make sure that your evaluations are as well throughout and objective as they are for all your other assignments and keep them consistent. When in doubt, return to the key concepts to gauge your students' knowledge, understanding, insight, and skills. Next one, let students bring their own media to the table. To get students more engaged, look for opportunities for them to do media literacy work with their choice of media products. The last one is keep up to date with media trends and developments. This is a great opportunity to let kids be the experts and teach you about the latest thing. So that's all the key concepts for media literacy and the tips for integrating media literacy in the classroom. Thank you for listening.
Media literacy across the curriculum. Media education has a place in nearly every course and subject. You can see our curriculum charts to get specific information on how each of our lessons and resources meets the curriculum of different courses in your province or territory. Here are some ideas just to get you started. Social science. In history classes, students can look at how their views of history and historical events have been shaped by media. Studying films, newspapers, and even their own textbooks can help students see how the nature of each medium shapes how history is told. In geography and world issues classes, students can analyze how news coverage influences how we view different parts of the world and the people who live there. Even maps can be studied as media. Finding and verifying information is at the heart of social science. Teachers can explore the use of the internet for research, including access to uncensored information and alternative news sources. Science. How are students' views of science and what scientists do shaped by media? Where does the idea of a mad scientist come from? And where do we see this trope today? How do the commercial demands of newspapers and TV news influence reporting of science stories? With networked media, science news comes to us from lots of sources. Some are reliable and some aren't. Even generally reliable sources often don't have specialist science reporters. Students need to learn how to critically read a science story, understand the process of how scientific consensus changes, and be able to quickly find out what the consensus on a scientific topic is, if there is one, and judge how firm that consensus is. Family studies. How are families depicted in different media? How has this changed with time? Do media portrayals of family follow trends in society, or do they influence them, or both? What do various media products popular with youth say about gender roles, and how do youth interpret these messages? Health and physical education. What influence does media consumption have on what we eat? How does it affect our decisions about smoking, drinking, and drug use? What kinds of relationships do we see modeled on media products popular with youth, and what messages do youth take from them? How do digital media such as cell phones and the internet affect our relationship with others, and how can we maintain healthy relationships using these media? No subject may need to integrate digital literacy more than health. Traditional health topics like body image and sexual health education need to incorporate digital literacy key concepts, as well as digital health issues such as fear of missing out that are caused by persistence, shareability, and asynchronous communication. Youth also use digital tools to find information about health topics. Music. How do the commercial pressures of the music industry affect the creation of music? How are things like gender, class, relationships, or alcohol and drug use depicted in music and music videos? And how do youth interpret these messages? How do different musical genres and styles like pop, rock, hip hop, R&B, and others influence the content of music and music videos? How are musicians portrayed in media, and how does that influence how youth see them? Law. How do media products popular with youth portray crime and the criminal justice system? How are these portrayals influenced by the values or assumptions of the media creators, by commercial considerations, or by the influence of different genres like cop shows, action games, and others? How are digital media affecting our views on issues such as intellectual property, hate speech, harassment, and defamation of character? Visual and fine arts. How do artists use, appropriate, and deconstruct media works to create new art? What rights and responsibilities do artists have towards the original media creators or owners? How do visual elements such as colors and logos affect us? As more and more artistic production is created or distributed through digital media, arts courses also need to reflect the impacts of digital technology, such as how platform architecture influences aesthetics and self-presentation, and the effects of networked technology on arts industries and communities. Moving on, let's proceed to assessing and evaluating media literacy work. As with any subject, it's important that work students do in developing their media literacy is assessed and evaluated. Students need regular feedback to be able to reflect on their progress and develop mastery, and this also tells them that the work they are doing is an important part of the course. There are two important steps to creating objective, comprehensive, and meaningful assessment and evaluation tools for media literacy work. The first is to use an evaluation tool such as a rubric that allows you to assess work in more than one way and that makes expectations clear to students. The second is to frame the expectations within the rubric in terms of the key concepts of media literacy. In general, media literacy work can be evaluated in three ways. First is based on how well the student understands the key concepts of media literacy and the specific concepts and ideas being explored in the lesson or assignment. Second, based on the depth and quality of the student's inquiry and analysis of the questions raised in the lesson or assignment, as well as the student's thoughtfulness in identifying issues and questions to examine. Third, based on how well the student applies specific technical skills associated with either the medium being studied, like movies, TV, video games, and others, the medium used in the evaluation tool, or both. Within each of those four areas, you can create expectations using questions based on the key concepts, which are media are constructions, audiences negotiate meaning, media have commercial implications, media have social and political implications, and each medium has a unique aesthetic form. Media are constructions. Does the student show an understanding of how the media product was created? Few media products are made by a single author. What were the different contributions of different creators to the final product? How well does a student analyze how the creator's beliefs or assumptions are reflected in the content? Audiences negotiate meaning. Does the student show an understanding of this concept and what elements in a medium or a particular product would be relevant to it? Can the student identify the intended audience of a media product as well as which other possible audiences might view it differently? How well does the student identify and analyze the ways that different audiences might view the media product differently? Media have commercial implications. Does the student show a knowledge and understanding of the commercial factors influencing the creation of this media product? Does the student show a knowledge and understanding of how the media product was financed and who owns it? How well does the student analyze how the content of the media product was influenced either by commercial factors or by who created and or owned it? Media have social and political implications. Does the student show an understanding of this key concept? Does the student show a knowledge and understanding of how this medium communicates ideas and values? For example, what kinds of characters are present and which kinds are absent? Who is shown in a positive light and who is shown in a negative light? Who is shown as having control over their lives and who is not? How well does the student analyze the significance of the conscious or unconscious, explicit or implicit messages identified in a media product? Each medium has a unique aesthetic form. Does the student show a knowledge and understanding of the technical elements of the medium and the tropes, cliches, codes, and conventions of the medium like TV, movies, video games, and others, and genre like situation, comedies, documentaries, role-playing games? How well does a student analyze how the use of these technical elements and genre tropes influence the conscious or unconscious, explicit or implicit messages identified in media product? How are elements such as music, costuming, and shot composition used to influence our opinion of a character in a movie? How are characters given or deprived of agency, control, and power in a video game? For all of the key concepts, you can evaluate any work according to the following terms. First, how well does the student apply knowledge of the key concepts and of the medium being studied? Second, how well does the student apply knowledge of the medium of the evaluation tool? For instance, if the student is writing an essay about a TV show, he or she would be expected to apply an understanding of how TV shows are created and how they convey meaning both explicitly and implicitly, and also to apply their knowledge of how to write a successful essay by using an effective structure, well-developed and supported arguments, correct spelling and grammar, and so on. Successful use of process steps such as editing, checklists, and pre-evaluation assessment can be included here as well. If the product being studied and the evaluation use the same medium, a mock print ad being used to deconstruct magazine advertising, for instance, the student would still be evaluated separately on how they apply their knowledge to analyze magazine ads and how they apply their knowledge to create the mock ad. Now that you've figured out the expectations of your evaluation tool, you need to determine how students will show achievement. This is often done on a scale of 1 to 4, sometimes represented as insufficient, and the numbers 1 to 4. To create a scale, start by writing what you want your students to do in level 3 and work up and down from there. This can be done in 2 ways. First, by using exact quantitative expectations. For example, if you want a level 3 student to successfully identify 4 ways in which the product communicates messages about gender, then a level 2 might successfully identify 3 ways, a level 1, 2 ways, an insufficient 1 or 0 ways, and a level 4, 5 or more ways. Second, by using qualitative descriptions of the work you want to see. If you define level 3 as being competent work, for example, you might define level 2 as developing work, level 1 as beginning work, insufficient as failing work, and level 4 as confident work. Each of the approaches has its own strengths and weaknesses. Quantitative expectations are generally better because there is little or no ambiguity, but using them too much can change the emphasis from thinking and analysis to following procedure and checking all the boxes. Most often, you'll use a mixture of the two. using quantitative expectations to evaluate knowledge and application of specific skills, and using qualitative expectations to evaluate inquiry and analysis. For example, a rubric for the design a video game assignment in the lesson first person might look like this. So the criteria are knowledge and understanding, inquiry and analysis, and application of skills and knowledge. So you can really see the differences in each level indicated in the rubric. From the level 4, which is a confident work, level 3, a competent work, level 2, a developing work, level 1, a beginning work, and in the insufficient level, insufficient work. For the last two criteria in level 4, there should be 4 or 5 more ways or elements. For level 3, 3 or 4 elements. For level 2, 2 or 3 elements. For level 1, 1 elements or 1 way. For the insufficient level, 1 or fewer elements. A final tool that is extremely helpful in evaluating media literacy work is giving student exemplars. These are examples of evaluation pieces that shows students what you're looking for in a competent work. Annotate the exemplar to make clear what it does right and go through it with the class when you give out the assignment. Make sure the exemplar is different in some key way from the assignment. An analysis of a different movie, for example, to avoid having students simply copy it. The easiest source of exemplars is your own students' work. But if you are doing an assignment for the first time, you can either create one yourself or have a peer helper or a more senior student create one. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and God bless.